Today, we have a panorama of Disney panoramas. And that's no lie, Pinocchio. Welcome to a new video here on Tulgey TV. I'm author and historian Jim Fanning, and today we're going to be looking at Pinocchio and some other Disney subjects in a different sort of way. And I'm glad this is widescreen because we're going to be seeing some panoramas. To get us started, we have this rare book from 1955, given to me by my friend and Tulgey TV fan, Mike Giamo. Thanks, Mike. This rare book entitled Disneyland Panorama. There we go. Really like the look and feel of this. It almost has like a wooden feel, even though it's just heavy cardboard. Where are we starting here? Well, Disneyland. And of course, that's what was happening in 1955. And Tinker Bell, the symbol of Disneyland. Here she is. And let's open up our book and see what's inside. What else was happening in 1955? The release of Lady and the Tramp. So here's Tramp. But we can't go too far without seeing Mickey Mouse. Or Goofy. Or Donald Duck. And here's our pal Pinocchio. You know, he couldn't be too far behind because he's helping us out today with this unusual subject. Pluto. Peter Pan, who's apparently discovered that blondes have more fun. I think Tinker Bell told him that. And here she is. Who's at the end of this book but Lady. So if Tramp was here, Lady couldn't be too far behind. Now you can already see by the way this book is opening, or maybe I should say unfolding, that it has a very unique format, and that's because it is a panorama. And I'm really not even going to have room to open this up for you, but I want you to see as much of it as you can. I really love everything about this book because it's both a book and a toy. I really like the illustrations, kind of this stylized mid-century approach to the characters, and this entire Disneyland panorama spreading out before our very eyes. But Pinocchio here leads us to a truly unusual sort of panorama that's also rarely seen, and that is Disneyland Records' own brand of panorama called Disneyrama. This was a unique series of LPs that were issued in 1963, and among the releases were Mother Goose Stories, Dumbo, and 101 Dalmatians. Of course, 101 Dalmatians was quite new. And this illustration on the cover is one of my favorite depictions of the 101 Dalmatians cast. Look at how Cruella is so cleverly incorporated here. She's lurking in the background, but she's also shushing one of the puppies who's noticed her. So it's just a very fun depiction of that great character. But what does this have to do with Pinocchio? Well, another edition of the Disneyrama LPs was Pinocchio. Here we have it. It's both the story and the songs. And what does it say? LP record and pop-up panorama storybook. So there's a lot going on here. In fact, an ad for this series describes it this way. It's an exciting reading book. It's a 3-dimension play toy. It's a fabulous LP record. It pops up and opens out more than 4 feet in length. So we really have something to look forward to here. So let's take a look at this unique record album. We're going to need a lot of room here. And as the ad indicates, it's an LP record and pop-up panorama storybook. So first of all, of course, there's an LP inside. It has the story of Pinocchio and the songs from the soundtrack that, of course, have been issued in so many different ways, as we've pointed out here before. But what makes this really special is this pop-up aspect. I'm going to try to open it up for you. So hopefully you can see how amazing this is. Here we have the story. This is supposed to stand up. These are not popping up as well as they might, but you get the idea. So the opening scene in Geppetto's workshop and the Blue Fairy bringing Pinocchio to life. Another pop-up scene, Stromboli's wagon. Look, here's Jiminy Cricket. I mean, this is so beautifully thought out and constructed. Here's Pleasure Island and Monster the Whale. So the rock is supposed to stand up. And then this illustration at the end, of course, shows us the happy ending. And this whole thing kind of opens up, if we can get it to cooperate. My copy here has kind of come apart, but of course, it's supposed to be the whole thing. So it's really quite wonderful and a unique way of telling the story of Pinocchio, to say the least. These illustrations are just great, and you wonder how many of these have survived, because they really, I'm sure a lot of children were playing with them, and they do kind of come apart. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you hit that like symbol. And the fourth album I'm going to talk about is actually the first one released. And if we think about what was happening in 1963, well, what was the big Disney release that year? Of course, there were several, but what was the main event? Of course, it was the release of Walt Disney's latest animated feature, which was Sword in the Stone. So take a look at this. The Sword in the Stone, the LP, again, with the record, the pop-up that's hard to say, the pop-up panorama storybook in this Disneyrama format. And this was quite exciting because the songs featured on the LP, of course, were 6 songs composed for the film by the Sherman Brothers. These were the first Sherman songs to be created for an animated feature. So this was a big deal and really got this series off to a great start. So let's take a look at these amazing dioramas here, these pop-ups. My copy here of The Sword in the Stone is in much better shape than my copy of Pinocchio. So we're really going to be wowed by these pop-ups. Again, we have the story told here in text. Look at these amazing pop-ups with these great illustrations, and they really had to engineer these to work properly. Here's Merlin leaving his cottage to tutor Wart and all his belongings. And there are some great storytelling details here, like the arrow that belonged to Kay that Wart was chasing that brought him to Merlin's cottage, and the wolf here, who's seen throughout the film. Then we have this whole scene at Sir Ector's castle. Here we have Wart and Merlin in fish form, being helped out by Archimedes the owl. Here we have the squirrels, the girl squirrels, and also Merlin and Wart in squirrel form. And over here, they included Merlin and Mim kind of facing off. So they really combined a lot of story elements into this one scene. Next, we have the tournament. This is the tournament where Wart has forgotten Kay's sword. So he finds the sword in the stone and pulls it out. So obviously this is a very important scene. Beautifully done. The whole thing opens up together, and because this is really in good shape, it really works here. I don't know how well you can see it with me opening it up here on the table, but you certainly get the idea. Just take a look at this. How great is this? And to me, this is really very special because it showcases one of my favorites, The Sword in the Stone, that's often overlooked in the whole Disney canon, and does such a great job of telling the story in this panorama form. So I hope you've enjoyed this look at these Disney panoramas, a unique subject to say the least. So we'll have another fascinating and undoubtedly unexpected subject in our next video.
So you concur?
Oh, I concur.